Hey everybody, this edition of the Westwood Living Podcast brings us to the office of Exerpsych. Sydni O'Connell is here. She's an adolescent mindset coach and the owner of Exerpsych. Hello, Sydni. How are you today?
Hello.
Nice to see you. And also here is Lauren Watson, whose voice you'll recognize from many episodes of the podcast. She, of course, is our expert in college admissions. And these two, I should say hello. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
Fantastic. It's good to see both of you here. And I love this collaboration. This has been very well played out. Folks are going to see a combined ad for the two of you in our next issue, the May issue of Westwood Living, because you have collaborated. So which of the two of you would like to speak first about this collaboration and what you have up your sleeve? Sydni, you both pointed at each other. That's not how it works. So I get to choose. All right, Sydni, it's your home turf. So why don't you guide us through what this is all about and how you two kind of collaborated and what you've got up your sleeve for the end of June.
Sure. All right. So we are collaborating to host it's called Her Story, a confidence and college essay retreat for rising senior girls. So we are blending confidence coaching, mindset coaching, movement with Lauren's expertise of college essay writing into 2 days, a 2-day event where we're going to do all those great things in a stress-free, very zen environment and get down to business, get some work done on these college essays.
So both Sydni and Lauren work with mainly adolescent,
Yes.
girls. Lauren works obviously with boys and girls, but people who are in their teenage years, and you specifically help people as they navigate that college admissions process, or the process that we like to call of what you're going to do beyond high school.
Yes.
Which is the better way to say it, because college isn't always the answer for everybody. But what was the appeal of teaming up with Sydni here from your end, Lauren, and what are you bringing to this party?
Oh my gosh, I've been dreaming of partnering with Sydni before she even knew that I existed. I went and introduced myself to her at Westwood Day a couple years
That's
ago,
right.
and probably sounded a little bit like a fangirl, and was like, I really love what you're doing, and I'm really interested in your whole take on, caring for adolescents. And so our missions seem to be very much aligned in that we're really concerned with the mental and emotional well-being of high school students. And I know that Sydni's work extends beyond high school, but that's where we overlap, obviously. Mm-hmm. And I think when we started talking about what we might be able to do together, this came about very quickly and very naturally. We both got really excited about the idea of bringing students in for an event that would enable them to hopefully feel really safe and heard and also productive. Because in the market, there's a lot, especially in my space of college counseling, there's a lot that's offered in the framework of a boot camp, right? Everybody sort of markets to parents and kids to say, come and crush all this work and work in this very intensive way in a short burst of time. And to me, the tone of all of that contributes to the stress and the sort of white knuckle grip that a lot of kids experience when they sit down to do this work. And we wanted to have a totally different approach. And that's what we're really proud to offer.
So the timing of this retreat, which we'll get into exactly why we're calling it a retreat, is June 29th and 30th. So it's shortly after the high school academic calendar closes, and it's before July 4th, and there's a reason for that. It's 2 days, both days, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's going to be right here at Exerpsych, which is right below Camellas. You come in through the Hartford Street side. First of all, let's focus on retreat, the concept of it being a retreat. And that was a very key word that you specifically chose. So both of you can weigh in on that.
Yeah, so much like Lauren just said, we are going to make this feel very different than a boot camp feel, very different than the classroom, because that if we can help these students feel, stress-free and regulate their nervous systems by being in a space that is conducive to that, we're bringing in Laurie and Bean of Picnics and Pillows to transform our already amazing space.
Yeah, if you have not gone to Lorian's Instagram page, just take a gander, and that's a nice addition to this 2-day event, no question about it.
She has an incredible vision, so it's going to be such a zen environment and just feel very, very different than the classroom, which I think just speaks to how we're going to really foster like mental health in this whole thing.
Yeah, and I think too, in thinking about the way that we're framing it as a retreat, our hope, I should say, is that the students will experience it in a way that feels calm and not frenzied. So to give you an example, some of the work that we've designed for the event will be going on a partnered walk, right? Your brainstorming will be talking about some of the ideas you might have for things you want to express about yourself in your essay, as opposed to the traditional sitting down with your computer and looking at a blank screen with a blinking cursor, wondering what you're going to say. We have plans to do some old school journaling with pen and paper instead of being on another screen. We've paced the event so that at critical moments there will be some movement led by Sydney, which, you know, she knows more about this than I do, but that research proves helps with cognition and bringing on new ideas and getting clarity in what you're trying to say about yourself. So I think it's going to be a pretty remarkable program for kids.
So nice segue to your expertise, which is the combination of exercise and mental health. And just let me give you a minute to talk a little bit more about that so people understand what your expertise is.
Sure. Yep. That's what we're all about here at ExerPsych. Mental health and physical health and how they go hand in hand. So like Lauren said, research shows when we move our bodies, I mean, right, the blood flow to the brain, and it enhances productivity, it boosts mood, it helps sleep, it sharpens focus, all of these amazing benefits. So that's what we do here in our one-on-one work and our small group work, and that's what we're going to bring to this retreat.
What I find interesting about it is, back to the timing, this is the college essay experience, a very stressful moment, and could be extended into beyond a moment, could be a very stressful period, which you are now taking a proactive step to getting ahead of. And you're doing that before the busyness of the summer vacation comes in. That's probably a part of why you're doing this at the end of June, right? Just walk me through the psychology of that.
Sure. I find so I've been doing this for 20 something years. I always joke with folks that this will be my 25th year applying to college.
Wow.
And I find that the essay is the most ominous task that kids have to face. There's a lot of sort of lore around writing your college essay and how important it is. And it then makes sense that a lot of students put it off for as long as possible. And what we're trying to do here is help students start it and get some real traction going on their drafts so that it does not hang over their head all summer long, and so that their parents don't have to ask them repeatedly over and over all summer long, have you started your essay? Have you started your essay? So it's good for everybody's mental state when it comes to being a rising senior.
I'm going to read a couple bullet points from what will be your ad coming up here in the May issue of Westwood Living, and it says, what will students gain? You're going to gain a clear understanding of the college essay mechanics, viable essay ideas, and topic guidance from Lauren, who's a former Boston College admissions officer. You're going to get personalized feedback on your chosen topic. You're ultimately going to walk out with at least your first draft of the Common App essay, and probably shouldn't be buried here as the last bullet point, but you will have that one-on-one conference with Lauren. So a lot coming out of what you're, participating in. Which leads to this question specifically to Lauren about this year. Anything surprise you? Anything new, different about the 2026 college admissions cycle? Things that keep you on your toes? Something that you're seeing all the acceptances and the commitments, right? As we're in this day, it's April 27th as we record this right now. So you're seeing it every day. Anything different? Anything changed this year?
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Everything feels like it's changing all the time. And also, I often say to people, there's a lot about the process that's the same as it ever was. There's a song lyric in there somewhere, I think. But some of the conversations I'm having in my professional spaces have to do a lot with the trends of where students want to physically be, right? There's been this trend of students going to the South, right? Lots of New England kids are in a really unexpected plot twist, I think, on a national scale, that so many kids are wanting to be at big public schools in the South. They're looking for that like absolute culture change. And that's an interesting thing to kind of watch as someone who's been doing the work primarily here and in the Bay Area my whole career. There's also a lot of talk about the influence of AI on the college process right now, which is interesting in the conversation about writing. Students are really trying to navigate uncharted waters, as everyone is in every industry right now. But specific to this, it's a really tricky moment where students are struggling with how much AI they can use or should use in a setting where colleges have not yet established what their own rules are. So it's a little bit of a Pandora's box to cover that that conversation, but it's certainly something that a lot of us are thinking about and talking about with kids a lot.
Great. Good feedback. Now I want to hear from Sydney about your testimonials is the only word I can think about, but success stories about girls who have come in here and engaged with what you do, and you've seen them get to a better place.
Yeah. So I'm all about empowering kids in general, adolescents, teens. So I want them to learn tools here that they can then take with them outside of here. Apply it at school, at home, with friends, you name it. So oftentimes girls walk out of here feeling just more confident, more equipped to deal with life's challenges, and movement being a big tool for that. I'm very passionate about teaching them how to move their bodies, nothing complex. It can be, go for a brief walk, do a couple jumping jacks just to continue to cope. And like we talked about all those great benefits. So we're all about empowering them to walk out.
This being your 25th year of applying to college, can you estimate how many essays you've read over the course of your journey?
Absolutely. I've actually done this math before. When I was an admission officer, just during those admission cycles, I read over 4,000 essays. In my work as a college counselor at 4 different high schools and now in the last 5 years in private practice, at least another 2,000. And some of that is the volume of essays kids have to write now during this process, but this retreat will be specifically focused on the personal statement, which is the sort of fabled 650-word essay that students can really write about anything that they want. And I mean, thousands of them. And I will say it's my favorite part of my job because students get to have complete control over this one part of their application, and they get to share something about themselves that's really essential to who they are, and helping kids figure out what it is that they want to share is really an honor to sit with a kid and help them try and figure out what is it that they want to tell the admissions committee about themselves, and helping them discern what message really matters the most to them and how to find a story that might be emblematic of that thing. It's a really important moment in their process, and I love it very much. I really like working with their kids on their essays. It's really special.
In many ways, it's the most important separator and differentiator on any common app, right?
Yes.
So worth the investment for sure. And if you're watching this podcast on YouTube or Facebook, you can see on the slate that there is a QR code. You want to click on that QR code, or I guess you know how to use the QR code. That's not the right terminology, but follow the QR code and it will take you to a Google form that will lead you to register. I'm also going to have that QR code available on westwood-living.com. There'll be an article specifically associated with this event. You can see the ad in the May issue of Westwood Living. The QR code is there. And then if anybody has questions, how might they reach out to either one of you?
They feel free to email us. My email is Sydney, SYDNI, at exerpsyched, EXERPSYCHED.com, Sydney at exerpsyched.com.
And you can reach me by phone, 781-710-6101, or you can reach me at watsoncollegeconsulting.net, or you can find me on Instagram.
What's that?
At Watson College Consulting.
Beautiful. No, I was asking, what's Instagram? Just kidding.
Oh.
This sounds like it's going to be an awesome event, and I can't wait to hear the feedback and see how quickly the spots fill, because I'm assuming that they're going to fill pretty quickly. But once again, her story, A Confidence in College Essay Retreat for Rising Senior Girls. It's June 29th and 30th. It will be right here at Exerpsych on Hartford, right underneath Camellas. And all the information you need is by following that QR code. But thank you for listening. Thank you, Lauren and Sydney, for teaming up and doing this. Couldn't you have done it a year earlier? You could have helped Olivia. But no, you both separately have helped Olivia and Dahlia, so I appreciate that immensely. And I can give my own testimonial about how fantastic both of them are. But those are the details. We thank you for listening. As always, if there's somebody else you want me to have a conversation with, just reach out, send an email to me at tleyden@bestversionmedia.com. I will find that person or those people, have a conversation, and then share it with you right here on the Westwood Living Podcast Network. But for now, from the offices of Exerpsych, this is Tom with Lauren and Sydney saying so long, and thanks for listening.